Hello and welcome to this edition of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's going high tech, low tech. So I'm just going to do my intro now. So bear with. Yeah, that was the wrong one. Well, this is going marvellously.
Winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes now. You like for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Now I feel like I need to make a video for that because I didn't think of that when I started doing these things. Joining me this evening, which is live streaming, but there's no one watching that, so don't worry. We've got Mark Barrow, who's been on before, so I won't torment him with the who are ya. But we also have Julian, who hasn't been on before, so Julian gets the little.
Right, well, Julian Rosario, JR on the Amber Planet Forum, or Magnum on Gandemonium. Yes, I have supported Sutton since the 1970s, since my mid-70s, probably about 74, 75. I'm waiting for Mark Freight to finally release some of his lists so I can actually try and remember which game it was that I went to. but Mum took me to back then, and I loved it. And I remember I'm sure there was games like Hastings and Southall, but Southall I think was maybe a bit later. But we certainly went to the Bournemouth FA Cup game at Gander Green Lane. Mum, of course, went to the 1970 FA Cup game against Leeds, but didn't take me because she was 8 months pregnant, so she wouldn't take me. I was 4. I would have been 4 then. So, but fell in love with it especially after when I think I was 11. Went to Palace Brighton with Mum, and came out and there's riots, police on horseback and everything down the White Horse Road. So after that, I said, Mum, right, let's go to Sutton. I much like it there, and I've been going ever since.
Excellent. So how many years was that again?
Well, 74, 75, I'm pretty sure that the first went to the odd game. I'm the oldest of 4, and my sister, who supported Sutton for a long time, and still does, but she lives in New Zealand now. She was the youngest one of the family, born in 72. So we couldn't get to too many games because Mum would be looking after my sister, and Dad's not into football at all. So it was all down to Mum taking me, and my sister jumped on the Sutton bandwagon as well.
So, despite all that very long history, you backed off the last couple of games because it was cold. Was that? Have I got that right?
No.
Is that cold? It was cold or COVID? I can't remember.
I've got COVID, so I was due to miss the Tranmere game anyway because I was away in Great Yarmouth at a music festival, and all of us that went managed to catch COVID. So I've missed Orient and Mansfield, but obviously the Orient game I couldn't watch. The Tranmere game I watched. Thankfully, I timed it because it was it was the international weekend, so I could actually watch the Tranmere game in my caravan, which I did before going to watch the bands. But the Orient game I couldn't watch, and obviously Mansfield last night I watched as well. But I'll be back on Saturday, so I can't wait. I've missed it.
Yeah, he's a funny little thing. I was trying to explain to someone at work today, not a football fan at all, doesn't understand why we go to football. I don't get it. It's just people kicking a ball around. And I was like, yeah, but it isn't. Half the time people don't go for watching the ball being kicked around. It's completely everything else that goes around it. So I was trying to put it into words and I was failing miserably. The poor blokes wandered off thinking football just a bunch of people just standing there worried that they're going to miss out on the funny things that happen, that they won't know what everyone's talking about. But on the games, I know you weren't there, but you watched the, we'll say, highlights of Leyton Orient. Mark, you were there.
Yeah.
How did it go for you?
Well, it was a little bit of deja vu because we lost 4-1 at Orient a few seasons ago, didn't we? This was a different sort of game. I mean, I don't think Matt would have been too happy about conceding 3 goals that followed set pieces, or 2 throw-ins and a short corner, and the other goal that Orient scored, which was their second goal, arguably it was the pivotal goal in the game, probably should have been disallowed because, as I'm sure we've all seen on the footage, there was a pretty clear push on Louis John moments before Harry Smith put the ball in the net. That sort of put Dean Bazanis off, that Louis being pushed, and strictly I think the ref should have disallowed the goal and awarded a free kick to Sutton, but he didn't. He allowed the goal to stand. The other goals, I mean, there was a long throw that was kind of flicked on in our box and then finished almost at the far post. The third goal that they scored was a very good finish. We can't take that away from the guy, but again, it followed a throw-in, different sort of throw-in from the earlier goal, and then the fourth, which is very late in the game, it was just in stoppage time, was followed a short corner that's caught our defence napping. So I'm sure Matt would have been, though he didn't come across this way in the interview, I'm sure he would have been seething about the way that some of those goals were conceded. But of course, that was put right last night when we kept a clean sheet against Mansfield.
Absolutely. But yeah, on the Leyton Orient, obviously took a nice lead. Thanks.
Yeah.
All got very excited. I nearly lost my wedding ring because it was cold and jumping up next to me, Jesus, catch that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to admit I was a little bit head in hands when I was there watching the goal that you were talking about with what was now the foul, because I just couldn't understand what had happened with Dean. My eyesight is shocking anyway.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't understand what he'd done, and I was like, the guy next to me was convinced it was a foul, but I think he thought the keeper was fouled.
Yeah, I thought that actually at the time. Yeah.
And then obviously seeing the replay, it's like, oh, okay, I can see.
I mean,
it was only a little shove.
Yeah, but it should have been straightforward for the linesman to see. A little bit more difficult for the referee, but the linesman would have a perfect view of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what their instructions are these days, but it was a bit of an odd one because normally they are given, so I don't know why it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tiny little push, but it was enough to send Louis off balance, which then knocked Dean over. But that said, it's one goal we did we didn't do brilliantly in the game. There was another moment though where it was 2-1 and Tance was through. One-on-one with the keeper, and again a different guy from work was with me. I can't criticise because obviously I would never be in that position myself. But where he hit it straight at the keeper, I was like, either side, and we're looking at 2-2, and I genuinely think we probably would have gone on to win then. And
that was probably an easier chance than the one he put. I mean, you could give him credit. I mean, we did start the game very well, and it was an excellent goal that Tante scored to give us the lead, and that needs to be acknowledged. But that second chance he had in the second half did look at an easier chance, as you say. He hit it straight at the keeper. Sometimes that happens in football. You know, a striker can't convert every single chance.
No, of course not.
And often it's the more challenging ones that get put away, and the easier ones sometimes are squandered.
There's a bit of credit to the keeper for that though, because in that position you're going to kind of try and guess one way or the other, because the striker's not going to go down the middle. He's going to try and put it in the corners, and the keeper's kind of stayed where he was. So he did well, but I did kind of go, if that had scored, we probably would have won. We're going to struggle for the rest. I thought before the third we kind of dug ourselves back into it. We made it into a little bit of a war and managed to dig ourselves back into it. But then that third goal was, it was a great goal, but
wonderful strike.
But it was, as Matt said, you've all heard the interviews. It's a game of football. We've lost it. Time to move on. A lot easier to say this having been having this conversation Sunday. Probably would feel a lot different about that let's move on comment, but after then standing in the freezing cold last night, watching a wonderful performance by Mr. Rock. And as you said, don't know what their instructions are these days, and no, I don't know. I don't normally like to have a moan at referees because it always feels like an excuse, but I do feel justified when we can win 2-0. Then I feel like quite happy to have a pop at a referee because but it's not sour grapes. But you were there, Mark. What did you think of the ref?
Well, some of his decisions were a little bit puzzling, and I think there was some dodgy calls by the linesman as well on the rec side. At least one occasion where he gave a corner to Mansfield, and it did very much look as if I think it was Rob Milson that kept the ball in. But yeah, there was some strange decisions about restarting the game, wasn't there? At one point. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he gave a drop ball or something. Didn't he? Was it Craig Eastman?
The keeper.
Yeah.
Then went to the centre circle, then went to the dugout, then walked back to the centre circle, and then went and gave it back to the keeper to tell him to hurry on. And then I think he tried to hurry him up as well. And it's like, why are you hurrying the keeper up when you've just spent half an hour walking around with the ball? I mean, how did it look on the screens? Hi, Julian. You watching that one?
I'm sorry. Yes, I watched. Yeah, I watched it. I mean, I had the benefit of replays, of course, as well, and Salt's wonderful commentary, and I mean, he set the tone in the first couple of minutes when Omar was brought down in the box. He was hauled down and let play go on, and then, but even worse, just after that, he was hauled down outside the box, and it was the most blatant foul you'll see. And I think Hawkins had already been booked by that stage, and I think it was Hawkins that took him down, and it was absolutely blatant, and he waved play on, and I thought, oh, we are in trouble here. And of course, the whole first half was stop start, and he you know, he could have booked a couple more players because there were tackles flying in. He just set the tone, and this is the problem I found with the referees this season, not just Rock, but a lot of them, although he did book a player early, generally a lot of them, they let these tackles fly in, and they just let it go, and then by the end of the game, towards the end of the game or the second half, it's got so ugly that bookings become, they're just like confetti, just booking them all the time. But you should have booked them early. You need to get control of the game. I don't know what directions, and it's probably not the referees themselves. It's from up above, giving them directions to allow play to go. They want play to go on and keep it free flowing because they're all doing it. So it must be some sort of direction that they're getting. But it's, you know, you need to stack on the game.
My thing is with managing Sunday League teams, when you get that, you can just see the players go, well, hang on, if he's going to get away with that, and then they go in hard, and then the next one goes in hard, and I was like, someone's going to possibly get hurt here because the players are just going to keep escalating until the referee stops it. I mean, obviously, these are completely different animals to Sunday League players. They're not going to start kicking the living crap out of each other, but it is that kind of thing where you think, right, you left one on me, I'm going to do one on you.
Yeah.
It's always a chance with Omar, especially.
Well, he was the most fouled player in the National League last year, wasn't he? I think.
Yeah.
And doesn't include all the fouls that weren't given.
Yeah. And, he got. I mean, I didn't actually see it, but he did stay down with that. I take it was an arm or something to the face in the second half. Did you catch what happened, Mark? Or?
I can't recall that immediately. No. I know, but there was one incident.
Play on, and then.
Yeah.
Then when he realised it was a head injury, then stopped it. I think that might have been when he was wandering around with the ball, actually.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, I think it was a flailing arm. I don't think it was an elbow or anything like that. It wasn't deliberate, but he did get caught.
Yeah. One thing I did catch on video, which I haven't put out, was Rob's lovely free kick that took their player out. That must have stung on a very cold Tuesday night. But we got a nice early goal from Louis. I thought it was a bit of an odd evening. There was a lot less people in there. I think Taz pointed out it was possibly because Chelsea were on the telly and it was cold. But I just thought when we took the lead very early, it just seemed everyone was quite flat, not just the players, just everyone in the crowd as well. It's a strange little atmosphere, and it was just a long game, it seemed. What do you guys think?
Well, from watching live, you could see obviously there was less people, and without doubt, I mean, there's a lot of Chelsea fans that come and watch Sutton now,
Yeah.
and so with Chelsea on the box, they're definitely going to watch it. Mansfield, would have sold out their allocation quite easily if it was a Saturday. They did well to bring 300, to be honest. I know they got a few London fans, but nevertheless, I mean, I've seen on their forum, people were getting back at 3 o'clock in the morning. And they've got to go to work in 3 hours' time after, it's that's quite an ask, and 300 fans is pretty impressive, to be honest. But they would have sold out if it was a Saturday, so we would have had over 3,000 again if it was a Saturday game. But when you've got Chelsea on the box, that's a big draw, and especially, I mean, they played brilliantly last night, so people want to watch them.
And like it or not, the casual fans, they don't have the same connection. So if it is blooming freezing, they're not going to think, I'll stand in the cold for 2 hours to watch that football. But I did like it because I had lots of space around me for the first time in ages. I was like, this is lovely. People left my mound alone, or the curver as they've been renamed.
But, I think the official attendance was just under 2,500, but I think that included a lot of non-attending season ticket holders. So the actual number of people in the ground was quite a lot less than that. Probably under 2,000.
Oh, really? Right.
The season that was established a while ago. It's the tickets sold, is not the actual attendance, isn't it? So it's tickets sold for the game. So it's what's announced. But what about the second goal? I put my phone away. I thought the attacker broke it down. I thought, well, I'm not filming this anymore. I put it back in my pocket. And I'm like, no, that was beautiful because it was at the right end and everything.
It was brilliant because I don't think David had done a huge amount in the game. Ricky seemed to be more involved. And it was a brilliant brilliant run from David. And then the finish was just outstanding. We know Omar's got that in his locker, and it was really nice to see. It was a sweet hit, and although different parts of the goal and slightly different because Saturday was a volley by Smith for Orient, but similar trajectory into the back of the net. It was an outstanding hit, really was.
Not quite as good as his goal at Woking, but not too far off.
I know Vanarama tweeted already today. They've tweeted about Omar that goal. So
okay.
Obviously got goal of the season last year. So they haven't forgotten.
Goals, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was an unbelievable goal. That I know quite a lot of people missed it because they were still trying to get into the ground.
Yes.
But so we're now I think 7th again, and 18 games. So there's 28 to go. And we're doing marvellously well. Would have taken. I think I worked it out, being a bit of a weird geek, that we've got something like 1.7 points per game. Which would put us into like 74 points for the season, which we're not going to be arguing with that, are we, if we finish up there?
No.
Well, I might, because I bet on us to win the league. So.
At what point did you do that?
I did it twice at the start of the season. I've got each way, and I've got us to win the league. I've got 66 to 1. I thought it was two.
Wow.
Well, I firmly believe it. I don't know about you guys, but I firmly believe if you can keep the nucleus of a championship winning side together, then you're going to do well the next season. We've kept everybody that Matt wanted. He's gone, and we've kept Matt as well, and the coaching staff, and we've lost anybody. Isaac's back as well. So for me, we were always going to do well. He's just got rid of the people that he didn't need. I've always been pretty confident that we'll finish top half. Of course, we'd take 18th or 19th place or 20th or whatever. Of course, we'll take that in our first season. But I was expecting better, and I still expect better. And I think with a little bit of luck, and we haven't had much luck, maybe a bit of naivety, we actually should be higher. We probably should be second.
There's very few games that we've played that you've I think Swindon was one, and Leyton the other day. That you thought, yeah, we've deserved that. Was it bad luck or bad decision by someone? I was not as confident as you, but I was confident we were going to be okay, which is strange for me because I'm always like, no, 50 points, 50 points, 50 points. But I was always confident this season, that, as you say, because we kept most of the players, and there's something about the group of players that kind of just encourage you a little bit. But yeah, I was relatively confident, but it's still always nice to see the point getting on the board as quickly as possible. Yeah. I think strangely, if we ended up 15th, 16th, 17th, what would have to happen for us to end up there would be quite a bad run, and it would make the season seem worse than it actually is. Whereas if it started the season and you said, "Oh, you're in 15th," you think you would be delighted with that. So I hope not, and I don't think we will, because he seems to have this little magic touch of getting the players up for the games, motivating them. Were either you at the meet the managers or?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't because I was isolating. So.
Yeah, sorry.
So otherwise, I would have been there.
He played down himself a little bit a couple of times, I felt. He was like, oh, well, I didn't know what I was going to say. And just he kind of played everything down. It's like, no, it's the same as Bruce and everyone with this whole little Sutton business. There's more to it going on than they're letting on. I just think he's been brilliant. As long as Spurs don't come knocking, we'll be fine. Absolutely fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's very meticulous in what he does. And he's at the games very early. You know, and they planned. Him and Jason have already planned stuff anyway. But they're at the games so early, putting everything into place, and it's brilliant. It really good. I mean, such a great appointment.
Yeah. Bruce got. I don't know if I've really heard it because he was very quiet when I spoke. But I did kind of say at the time, a lot of people thought it was a bit of a safe appointment and just sort of promoting from within. And he almost bristled and said, I don't think it was a safe appointment at all. He said, no management experience. He hadn't been anywhere. There were other managers who had experience of sort of some fairly biggish names in the frame. He said, I really didn't think it was a safe appointment at all. I thought it was quite forward thinking of us, to be honest. Didn't mean it like that. But yeah, I both of you were on the forums and in the Facebook groups. There was a lot of, oh, this is awful, this is terrible, he's just a coach and all that kind of stuff. A lot of deleted messages, I'm sure.
Yes, I know. We know a few people that were moaning. I wasn't one of them at all. I was backing him all the way, but I know people that wanted him to go. Saying he's not up to it, and you know, a manager does need time, and he's quite clearly up for it. I mean, I've always said that if a manager, if he loses the players, and you can see on the pitch when you lose the players, then that's probably the time to go because they're not playing for you. But at no stage during the bad run, no stage were we losing the players, and we were desperately unlucky with some of these results. They just weren't going our way, and then suddenly, you know. Barrow away was amazing because Barrow didn't have a shot on target in the whole game and they won 1-0. And then after that, but the performance was outstanding. You know, Barrow was that the year they won the league? They went up, I think it was. And they were the best side, and we matched them. And of course, the tide changed after that, and we started winning some games. And it didn't surprise me at all because of the way we were playing, and he hadn't lost the players at all. The players were playing for him, so it's only a matter of time before the results are going to go our way.
The thing is, at the time as well, not the same lost players, but he had lost some big players in the changing room. So Nicky had gone, Rory had gone. So these not just necessarily on the pitch. They're players that on the training ground. Big personalities suddenly not there. So it was important. Bruce actually said that. By the way, he said Matt apparently asked him. Not apparently, Bruce told me he's asked him. So Matt asked Bruce at any point in that run, was I ever in any danger? And Bruce was like, no, this is Sutton. You were never in any danger. You needed time to do the right thing, bring the players in, get everything going right. So yeah, I remember at the time, and it was difficult, especially when you're defending. Like, come on, no, give him time, give him time. It just went on and on and on. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, give him time, give him time. But proved
Mm.
absolutely right and spectacular style.
Yeah.
But you did well there for me. You mentioned Barrow. We got him on Saturday.
Indeed.
Almost a smooth segue in, Mike. Nearly. So you're going to be there on Saturday, Julian, yeah?
I am. I shall be doing the car park duties early doors, so
Yeah.
I get to see. I get an early look and see who the referee is. Fortunately, I don't think it'll be David Rock because we've already had him. So, but yes, I'll be there at 11 o'clock doing the car park, and then really looking forward to the game.
Excellent. Any thoughts on the game?
It feels a little bit like an old National League fixture, doesn't it? Because we've played Barrow several times in the National League. They're not having a great season, and I was checking their results earlier. They haven't actually won a league game since the 2nd of October. I think they beat Mansfield 1-0 on that day at Barrow. They haven't scored a goal in any of their last three games. Before that, they did win 4-0 in the FA Cup. That was at non-league Banbury. But their recent form is pretty poor. But as Matt, I'm sure, would say, there were no easy games at this level. Even when you're playing a struggling side, you got to be on it. And if you let your standards slip, you're asking for trouble. So the players will need to apply themselves in the way that they have been in the other games. But I'm sure Matt will set them up for that, and he'll impress on them and need to put a shift in again as they have in the other games. And if they do that, I think there's every chance we'll get a win.
Yeah, Mark's absolutely right. It is going to be a real tough game because every game is, but they're not going to be a Swindon Town or Port Vale. No. They're not as good as those sides, so we know that we can beat them, but we've still got to perform. It'd be fantastic if we can get if we can get another 3 points. It will be fantastic. 32 points at the end of November. I know we've been pinching ourselves a lot over the last few months, the last 6 months or so, or 10 months or whatever, all the way through the championship campaign. But the 32 points before the end of November, at the end of November, would be absolutely remarkable. It really would, and it cements our place in the top 7. Probably extends the gap between us and the bottom 2. It'd be interesting to see how Oldham react as they've sacked Keith Carr today. And they're just sitting just above the bottom 2. But I would hope a similar to obviously we'll all take a similar result to the last time we played a Cumbrian side. So and Carlisle and Barrow I think fought out a 0-0 draw the other week.
They did, yeah.
And Mark's saying they can't score. Let's hope they don't score on Saturday. And if they don't score on Saturday, then I think then we will win. We will score. Interestingly, though, I don't know if you know this, Mike or Mark, but apparently Isaac hasn't scored at home this season. All his goals have been away.
So he needs to sort that out.
He needs to sort that out and score on Saturday.
That fair app going to be open in a minute just to see what the odds are. I don't know what was on with that video. Luckily, I did catch him when he made his most recent home debut, and he came on and he was just about to break away, and the ref blew up.
Oh God! That was Carlisle.
Was that? Oh, that was Carlisle. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, God, he's bound to score it, Darren.
Yeah.
Although last time I made a prediction who was going to score, I said Drynan was going to score on Saturday.
And Carlisle anyway.
Loads of other players scored except Drynan, but never mind. And so that's going to be a good place to wrap it up, unless anyone wanted to say anything else. I'm assuming, Mark, since we're in Sutton, you'd go with the Hope again for Pub of the Week, or is there something else you want to suggest? If you're going to suggest one,
I'll stick with the Hope. Save me having to think about another pub in the borough at short notice.
Although Bruce would very much say take the cues and drink in the clubhouse. He was most upset to know that there was money walking out the door. Quite a lot of time was spent discussing the beers and the burgers and the boats.
yes. The
It
three
took my
Bs.
surprise. Everyone was all singing Matt's praises, and then it went to Bruce, and it was suddenly right: beers, burgers, toilets. Whoa. But yeah, so we'll stick with that. And I am dropping that good, bad, and the ugly business because it is negatives. I don't like that. I like positives all this time. So I'll think of something else to replace it. I heard one putting people on the spot the other day to ask for man of the match. So I won't do that to you, but I'll just warn anyone else in future. I might ask for your man of the match of the game that's just gone.
Okay.
But I won't do that to you guys today.
All right.
So thank you very much for your time. It's been wonderful.
All right. You're welcome.
30 minutes. Excellent. Thank you very much. I'll see you both Saturday.
Yeah.
When there's much more people around on my spot. But I'm over it. It's fine. Yeah. I'm all right with it. Cheers, guys. See you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Cheers, Julian. Bye.
Bye. Cheers, Mike. Bye.
And that's the end of this episode of Something Like Talk Time podcast. Actually, no, I lie. There is something else I was expecting to play. Just bear with me while I find my file. Sorry. So the Sutton United cocktail crew have asked to join in with their minute. So just bear with, and here you go.
All right, Mike. It's Woody from the cocktail crew. Not a great result yesterday, but onwards to Mansfield on Tuesday. Being the cocktail crew, we planned to look up the appropriate cocktails for the game yesterday, but to be honest, we were way too lazy, which leads me on to today's feature. Woody's wonderful world of corner shop cocktail cans. Yesterday, we purchased a small cocktail from Dave's store opposite the Field of Dreams, and it was the Mighty Snowball. Normally, they reserve a grandma on Christmas Day. This combination of Warnings Advocaat, lemonade and lime should have been a winner. But the arrival of Stubbsy on the train at Wimbledon with the finest peri-peri biltong made for a combination from hell. Rating 1 out of 5. See you Tuesday, mate.
We're going to get them their own little intro, and we'll get some of their cocktails every single week. So that does wrap up the episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you to my guests for their time. Thank you, Mark and Julian. That was very, very wonderful. I'm sure we'll absolutely be having them on again. So just for now, take care, and I will see you at Barrow.